The City Council meeting for the City of Atascadero, and I will ask Council Member Funk to lead us in a pledge to the flag.
Please rise and join me in saluting our
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, with its stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Warbo,
Here.
Councilmember Dares,
Here.
Councilmember Funk,
here.
Mayor Pro Tem Newsom.
Here.
Mayor Moreno,
Here.
all present.
Thank you. Well, if you're attending here, we welcome you in person. If you're on the webinar or listening in any one of the ways that you can, we welcome you. If you want to call in at any point for public comment or community forum, you can do that. If you have a copy of our agenda on the front page, we'll give you that information, but I'll go ahead and give that here now too. You can call into 669-900-6833. We give that number one more time at 669-900-6833. And then the meeting ID you would use is 889-2347-9018. Again, the meeting ID is 889-2347-9018. And of course, again, it is on the front of the agenda. When you call, let us know what item you'd like to speak on, and on to asking if someone would approve the agenda.
I'll move approval of the agenda.
I'll second.
A motion by Councilmember Barbeau, a second by Councilmember Funk, and we will waive the reading in full of all ordinances appearing on this agenda. And the titles of the ordinances will be read aloud by the city clerk at the first reading after the motion and before the council votes. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Warbo,
Yes.
Councilmember Funk,
Yes.
Councilmember Dares,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Newsom.
Yep.
Mayor Moreno,
Yes, ma'am.
motion passes.
Thank you. And we now have a presentation for National Adoption Month. And I believe we have a Camby Ariellano. Sorry, I don't quite have that pronunciation right. But I've asked Councilmember Borbo to give the proclamation, and then we'd welcome you up to say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a proclamation regarding National Adoption Month. Whereas the city of Atascadero recognizes the importance of providing children safe, healthy, and loving homes in which they may become a permanent part of a family through adoption. And whereas there are more than 120,000 children in the United States adopted annually, and whereas more than 5,500 children in California are adopted annually, and whereas 33 children in San Luis Obispo County will be adopted by the end of this year, and whereas to help these children have permanent, loving families and to support the families that provide these homes, the city of Atascadero is acknowledging National Adoption Month to raise awareness about the need for adoptive homes for local children and join other organizations to celebrate adoptive families in our community. And whereas this effort, along with similar celebrations in all 50 states and the District of Columbia, will offer children the chance to live with loving, healthy, permanent families when they cannot live with their birth families, and encourage other individuals to make a powerful difference in the lives of a child through adoption. Now, therefore, on behalf of the City Council of the City of Atascadero, I hereby proclaim November 2022 as National Adoption Month in Atascadero, and in so doing, urge all citizens to join in a national effort to raise awareness about the importance of adoption. Signed, Heather Moreno, Mayor, City of Atascadero.
Welcome.
Thank you. At any given time, the County of San Luis Obispo's Child Welfare Division has nearly 260 children, youth, and teens in its foster care system. These children are in care through no fault of their own and are often the victims of abuse, neglect, mental illness, and abandonment. These youth yearn for the same things that other youth want: a safe, stable, and loving forever home and family to care for them. We sincerely appreciate the support of Mayor Heather Morano and the entire City Council for helping us honor the tireless and noble work that our adoptive and resource families do for our youth. We would also like to use this opportunity to shed light on a growing concern within our community. We are very happy to announce that this year our county will have finalized 33 adoptions, and 3 of those families are from this community. The effects of the COVID-19 pandemic have continued to present many challenges in our recruitment strategies and has had a significant impact on our ability to recruit and maintain new homes. While we have currently around 260 youth in care, 41 of which are from your district, we have been only able to place 10 of those youth in their community of origin. This means that over 75% of youth entering care from Atascadero will need to be placed in a foreign community, which can often lead to education disruption and further trauma. With only around 120 active resource families to care for our youth, a significant number of homes are currently active but have specific age preferences of 0 to 5 years old. Our two most pressing needs are for homes willing to provide short-term care as an emergency shelter home, or homes willing to care for our school-aged youth ages 6 to 18, especially teenagers. When faced with a shortage of this magnitude, it truly hinders the department's capacity to pair a youth with the ideal family, and many times we must simply place the youth wherever there is an available space. Scrambling around for a safe, loving environment for our youth during an already traumatic time adds another layer of stress and trauma to this vulnerable population. This in turn creates further difficulties and delays in providing stability and permanency to the youth we serve. It is for this reason we would like to encourage anyone interested in supporting our youth in care to please visit our website, www.slowfostercare.com, to learn about the different ways they can make a difference in the life of youth in care. There are many different ways to serve, and we know that by working with our other caring collaborative partners, like the City of Atascadero, we can find more homes for local youth in need. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss. Is it Ariano? Ariano? Okay. Would you like to take a picture? Okay, we will come up to do that with you. All right, we are on to our consent calendar. This consent calendar contains items that are considered to be routine and non-controversial by city staff and can be approved in one motion unless there is a council member or a member of the public wishing to pull an item. So we'll ask council members if there are any items to be pulled. Councilmember Daris?
Yeah, I think I would like to pull item 3 for separate votes since I had a conflict of interest and I wasn't part of the discussion.
Very good. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on a consent calendar item or pull an item? Which number? You want to pull 3? Okay. Anyone in the webinar, if you want to raise your hand.
If you'll give me a moment, I need to leave the room since it's going to be discussed.
Hold on.
Since it's being pulled by the public.
Yeah, let's vote on the other first.
Oh, we can do
Hold
that.
on. So, okay. So I don't see any others. So may I get a motion on 1, 2, and 4?
I'll move.
I'll
So moved.
second. We have a motion by Councilmember was it Borbo?
Yeah.
Oh, Councilmember Daris, second by Mayor Pro Tem Newsom for 1, 2, and 4. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Daris,
Yes.
Councilmember Borbo,
Yes.
Councilmember Funk,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Newsom,
Yes.
Mayor Moreno.
Yes, ma'am.
Motion passes.
All right. So for number 3, Councilmember Daris, because he had recused himself due to conflict on this issue, he needs to remove himself from the premises or the room and within earshot for any conversation to be had. So. we will. All right. I think our city manager is battening down the hatches. So there we've got a comment on number 3. Please come forward.
Good evening, Council. Jeff Oslin. On item 3, I'd like some clarification prior to our council adopting the ADU ordinance. I seem to still be confused, even talking to many of you about the attached garage to ADU units that are 1,200 square feet, and also asking if it's anything above 750 square feet on an acre or more of land, whether it is septic and or sewer, that the square footage of an attached garage is 500 square feet. I read it weird that it can be, if it's double stacked, meaning the ADU is above, it can be, but I'm not sure on the lower square footage. So if that could be clarified, that would be extremely helpful. I have read it again, still not sure about it. But I think it's necessary that we have 500 square feet for all above 750 square feet. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Anyone in the webinar, on the phone? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close public comment and we'll bring that back, and I'll ask our Community Development Director, Mr. Phil Dunsmore, to answer that question of clarifying the garage square footage, the 500 square feet. Is it septic sewer dependent, and is it dependent on the number of square feet of the ADU itself or the size of the property?
Thank you, Mayor. None of those things are tied to the size of an attached accessory structure to an ADU. Instead, there is a difference between an accessory structure that is either above or below or on a second level than an ADU. And I believe the council decision was to maximize that size limit at 500 square feet, which actually is the same size limit that we have today in our what we call our residential second unit code. The other portion of that code has a limitation to what we call an accessory structure that's attached, or a garage attached to that structure, when it's on the same level. And I believe the decision we came to, and I'm just looking at the final language now, I thought that was 400 square feet.
It's on page 26 and it's 300.
300 square feet. Okay. Just reminded myself of that number, but no limitation based on unit size or property size. And that's where that decision lies. Let me know if you have any other additional questions.
And I
Thank
think
you.
it has to do with the being on an acre or more, the 500 square feet.
Yeah.
Is what that says there too, with the attached
Right.
space.
The language, states that it's 500 square feet if it's on an acre or greater.
Yeah.
The language on page 26.
And number 1, that.
Oh,
first
yes, there's
sentence.
that caveat as well.
Yeah.
Apologize. Yes, you're right.
So it actually makes it gives that greater option on an acre or more.
But you're clarifying, Phil, that, the size of the ADU itself is not a driver.
That
That's
was
what
what
you're
I was intending
Yeah.
to say.
Yeah.
Correct.
Makes sense. Thank you for that. All right. And with that, if there's no discussion, I'll ask for a motion.
I'll move approval of the ordinance adopting standards for accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Funk, second by Councilmember Borbeau. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Funk,
Yes.
Councilmember Borbeau,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Newsom,
Yes.
Mayor Moreno.
Yes, ma'am.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And
And was that approval of the second reading of both ordinances? A and B? That was the motion.
Yes.
that was the second.
was
It would be
ordinance-
easier to just say
ordinances in the-
number 3, right? Yes.
So item number 3,
Yes,
ordinances.
item number 3.
plural.
Yes.
Item
Perfect.
number 3.
Just checking. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. All right, on to updates from the city manager, Ms. Rickert.
Thank you very much. Luke will pull this up for me. have a lot to talk about. It was a very busy Halloween weekend, so want to start out with Zoo Boo. It took place on October 29th at the Charles Paddock Zoo, and there were lots to enjoy with a not too scary haunted house, fun activities, dancing for the kids. I did see some videos of the kids dancing, and it was absolutely adorable. Cute costumes and plenty of family fun. I want to make sure we thank our sponsors. So thank you to Pure Pediatric Dentistry, Guest House Grill, and John Donovan State Farm Insurance. They support this event and help offset the costs so we can bring this fun evening for the entire family at a reasonable cost. So thank you to our sponsors. We also had Trick or Treat on Entrada, and it had an amazing turnout in the downtown on Halloween. There were costume contests, bounce houses, a hay maze. Our fire department was there, and there was lots of candy to enjoy. It says tons of candy, and I think there were literally tons of candy. It was a lot. So thank you to the Downtown Business Improvement District and Roxy Bragg at Indigo Clothing for coordinating all of the festivities. That's a big undertaking. It's very much enjoyed by all of us that attend. And so thank you to those that put in that effort. And then we also had Fall First Fridays concert, which took place at the Plaza this past Friday. The popular band Unfinished Business was there with great tunes from the 60s and 70s, and everyone got up to dance. So we want to thank Hungry Mother Food Truck and Taqueria Don Jose that came out to be a part of the evening, along with Bubble Fun 101, offering a complimentary bounce house to the kids. As we head into 2023, the city will continue to offer something fun in the downtown on every first Friday of the month. So put it on your calendar. We also had the Bovine Classic, also known as America's fourth hardest gravel cycling event in California wine region. My favorite title. I love that. And that took place this Saturday. There were 400 participants representing 105 different cities, 12 states, plus Puerto Rico. Riders, staff, and volunteers visit our city from at least 12 different countries. And Terry listed them all. So Finland, Italy, France, Belgium, Canada, Holland, Colombia, Mexico, Australia, UK, Finland, Ghana, and Honduras. So literally from all over the world came. In addition, the event worked with 35 different local and national businesses to bring this event to Atascadero and Paso Robles. The event presented a platform for people to connect to the places themselves, their common humanity through a shared gravel cycling experience, said Brian Yates, who brought this event to us. Thank you to Brian with Locomotive Bike Monkey and all of our local agencies involved, from our fire and police and public works team. Absolutely critical. They do a lot of work for this. Caltrans, SLO County Sheriff, City of Paso Robles, Travel Paso, Paso Robles Police and Fire Departments, and California Highway Patrol. It was a fun event, and we're glad they came to visit. And then upcoming events. We're not done yet. We're getting into that event time of year from now until our Tamale Festival in January, and then we still have more events after that, but we'll just do the next 2 weeks. So the Atascadero Veterans Memorial Foundation is hosting the annual Veterans Day ceremony on Friday, November 11th at 11 a.m. at the Faces of Freedom Memorial located at the corner of Morrow Road and Portola Road. The event will include the breathtaking flyover by the Australia Warbirds, the presentation of colors by the Cal Poly RO2C, accompanied by the Central Coast Pipes and Drum. The guest speaker, Chief Warrant Officer Rod Dykehouse, the Veteran of the Year, will be presented to Specialist John Couch, our former police chief. A laying of the memorial wreath with taps played by Dr. Castellanos, and the special presentation of quilts to local veterans by the local Quilts of Valor Guild. Following the event is a no-host barbecue by Kiwanis, and that'll be right there at the Veterans Memorial. Also on Friday the 11th, we'll have the annual Garagiste Festival, and it will kick off at Pavilion on the Lake. There will be a rare and reserves tasting starting at 6:30 p.m. Attendees will get to experience over 50 of the best wines, Gaurashis, I can't say that, Terry, sorry, have to offer that will only be available at this event. No repeats, a kickoff party to energize and impress your palate. Will be there on Friday, and a wine country buffet is also included. It's also time to start shopping for the holiday, and we have our holiday boutique this Saturday at Atascadero Lake Park with over 60 vendors, and they are all looking forward to seeing you at this one-day craft show. All items are handmade and a great opportunity to find that unique gift for someone special or just for yourself. Plus, it's always good to get a good head start on your shopping, holiday shopping. It's a great event. We have Active Armed Forces Day at the Charles Paddock Zoo. It's also on Saturday. All active duty armed forces, men, women, and their immediate families, spouses, and children receive free admission to the zoo. Bring your valid military ID. And we're grateful for this opportunity to say thank you to the men and women who serve here and abroad. We also have Pumpkin Smash at the Charles Paddock Zoo on November 19th. This is when we give pumpkins to some of our animals and watch them have a great time. So starting at 10:30 a.m., there will be a pumpkin smash schedule for the animals. Basically, you give a tiger a pumpkin, see what he wants to do with it, watch them play, eat, they bury things in pumpkins. It's a lot of fun, very interesting, and all activities are included with general admission. And last, but certainly not least, Atascadero Fall Festival is back for the second annual weekend event. Everyone is asking, and yes, the city of Atascadero and the Atascadero Business Improvement District will be hosting the Fall Festival event on November 18th through November 20th. Hours are 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Friday and noon to 10 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. There will be 14 rides to enjoy. It was so cool seeing the carnival and the Ferris wheel right outside my office window. We're going to have 6 more rides than last year and double the number of carnival games. Entertainment will be a lot of entertainment with a variety of live music, including the popular Pato Banton on Saturday evening. Apparently not as popular with me. Sorry, Terry. Everybody else knows him. Sorry. There will also be the Surf and Suds Beer Festival during the day on Saturday. And thank you to Andres Nunes with Enfuego Events for bringing us this opportunity to bring a family fun event to our community. The event is free to attend, and tickets for the Beer Fest and Carnival wristbands can be purchased in advance at atascaderofallfest.com. And that promises to be another fun event. And let me mention one other thing on the Fall Fest. We will have to close some of the roads around City Hall. It does take them a few days to set up. We will be sending out press releases and other information so people will know how to get around when you drop off your kids there at the junior high, how to access City Hall, all sorts of information. So please look for that information to come. And a couple of quick announcements. With the time change comes new hours. So farmers market is now 3 to 5 in the Sunken Gardens each Wednesday. So you can't wait till 6 anymore. The Charles Paddock Zoo is now 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And so those are some of our hour changes. I also want to mention Trail of Lights is back. If you're ready to decorate your home, we're planning another Trail of Lights. All of your lighting decorations must be up by December 5th if you want to be included and want to be included in the contest for that. That is where we have people submit pictures of their homes. We go out and judge them, and we put them on our website so other people can drive by and enjoy all the hard work that people do. It's very enjoyable activity to drive around and look at Christmas lights. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. And as always, if you missed some of the dates and times, go to visitatascadero.com. We have all of the events there on that webpage and tons of details. So thank you.
Thank you. A lot going on. For the Trail of Lights, is there a business category too? Do businesses participate and there's a business prize category, or is it only residential? Only residential. Okay. Good to know.
Okay, and I have two more.
Yes, I was
items
going to see if
today.
there are any other questions on anything. No? All right. So yes, let's move on to our two other updates.
Okay, I asked Lorelei to join me this evening just to give you a very brief update on the broadband strategic project and the survey that's out there. We will have more of a presentation on our November 22nd meeting, but I do want to try and get the word out there often about having people participate in this survey and the importance of it. So Lorelei.
And to
Thank you.
celebrate the $200,000 grant that we got.
What a great way to start off.
Yes,
Yes, we're
very
excited to
exciting.
announce that the CPC has awarded the cities of Atascadero and Paso Robles in a joint application for the local area technical assistance grant for broadband. So that will be covering the cost and reimbursing the cost of our strategic plan project that we just kicked off on October 7th. So we've been about a month underway here, and we are excited to get going with community engagement. That's the first step in the process. We want to engage all of our decision makers, all of the public, and the best and first way to do that is to start participating in our needs assessment. Data collection is a really critical piece of this project. It's a quick burn. This is a 22-week project, so this will take us into early next year. But right now, data collection is really important to understand. How is your internet functioning at home? What are your speeds? Are they really what you're paying for? And, where are the underserved areas and unserved areas? So we'd like everybody to take a moment at home. We just put out a press release and we will post this on the city's Facebook page, but we are launching a survey through the Pacific Coast Broadband Consortium. If you go to www.pc, as in Pacific Coast, broadband.org//needs assessment. You will be taken to a brief survey, and then you will be able to do a speed test, which will record your speeds at home, wherever you are using broadband. So your business, your home, we will be able to get live data from where you are in town. And we need about 500 to 1,000 data points to get a really great representative sample. And I think we're at like 200 already, which is great. But we want to promote this and tell your friends and neighbors, because the more data, the more solid our plan is and the better idea we have of how things are working or not working in our community. So to promote this, we'll have a community forum. We're going to do one in Paso Robles on the 14th of November, and we're going to do one in Atascadero on the 16th of November, right here at City Council Chambers. And that purpose of that is to talk a little bit about how important data collection is, but it's also to have a kind of a facilitated discussion about broadband in our community. What is broadband? It's such a weird term, but it's really about what kind of speeds are you getting? And right now, internet is just as important as electricity and water to some people to live and work from home and do online schooling. So again, project is underway. Community engagement is just beginning. We're talking with internet service providers now and talking to future internet service providers to see who's interested in our community and joining us to help fill out our fiber network. We're going to be using our speeds and our data to tell us where the holes are and developing a strategic plan, which we will have in late February, early March of next year. And we'll also talk a lot about policy along the way, but we want to do on the 22nd, we'll be coming back to talk with council a little bit about that. What kind of policy decisions need to be made over time to make sure that we are broadband ready. And that when we say these are the projects that are great and that we need to be a whole city and have our network created and complete, these are the policy things that we need to weigh as a community to be ready for it. So with that, I hope everybody can join us at on November 16th, 5:30 to 7 o'clock here at City Hall Council Chambers for our broadband forum.
Thank you, Lorelei. I did take the survey already. It took, I'd say, 5 minutes or so. And I do want to confirm that at the end, when you take that speed test, you don't need to do anything at that point. It is automatically recorded, because it said, oh, you could retest. And so I retested, it came up virtually the same thing, but that's automatically recorded. There's nothing anybody needs to do with that information.
Exactly. Yep.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we thank all of you for taking that test and helping us, like Lorelei said, build out our broadband infrastructure. Any questions? All right, I think we are on to our, we have a little bit of information on our upcoming building code changes, and I'm assuming this might be Phil Dunsmore.
That will.
Good evening, Council Mayor. Just want to give you a really quick preview of what's to come. It's every 3 years that we are required to update our code to recognize the new state building code. And that year is again. So 2022 is a year of a new building code. Going to show you a couple things that are coming our way in terms of what's happening in this next building code. And luckily, is nothing earth shattering. Don't see a whole lot coming down the pipeline that is going to be substantial. I know our last building code update, we saw the changes that required a lot of new stuff to add solar. Nothing quite earth shattering as that, but I wanted just to kind of run by kind of what's coming. States looking at efficiency dwelling units, kind of synonymous with what the state's doing for really incentivizing housing. Now they're calling those units, it can be as small as 190 square feet. Shipping containers, they're now recognizing that shipping containers can actually be a structure, whether that's a commercial structure or a residential structure. And previously those were just a construction material. We have an aging population. So now they're beginning to also recognize that aging in place should be something that's incorporated into most structures, at least so they can adapt. And what that means is putting things in place so houses can easily be converted so you can age in place. That means putting blocking in the walls and things like that to support handholds in certain areas. Not a huge change. Couple more in terms of energy storage. When we talk about energy storage, we're talking about batteries. A lot of houses now are getting batteries to keep storage of energy from their solar. Now there's more flexibility in installing those in certain indoor locations. And the state's also getting really protective about electrical and now new service, in other words, new hookups, especially for your bigger appliances. All of it's going to require GFCI for all those outlets. So a little more money to be spent, on construction, not substantial. And then the last one there, electrical boxes for outlets for the ceiling fans being rated so they can structurally support it. Not a huge change. And the very last one, and this is probably a little bit bigger, is that on the projects that are in commercial and multifamily that already have to put in solar, now actually have to put in appropriately sized battery system, storage systems to support that solar. So that's an interesting one. Now, another thing with the building code we're going to be bringing you is we do have the ability to put in local amendments. We're going to be bringing a few of those to you. One of those is something that's going to allow for properties to go off grid. That's something that we really experimented with here in this last year. And now that's going to become an option in our building code once we adopt this, a separate section that can provide it. We're also going to come up with a nice list. And this is something to help streamline process to list out what is exempt from construction permits and actually publish that in our code. But Casey wants to tell you about a couple of things coming our way too, our fire chief, because this is all part of it. When we do the building code update, we also do the fire code update. Take it away.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So when we're talking about the public safety code, we also adopt every 3 years the California Fire Code and the International Wildland Urban Interface Code. So we've just, as we did with the building code, we've been looking at the changes coming up for 2023. And we have a few recommendations, 3 changes I'll just go over real briefly here. The first is a change in the Wildland Urban Interface Code. They've added a landscape management plan for all new construction. That would be a plan when someone applies for new construction in our WUI area. So that's the map we adopted a year or 2 ago. So in that area, high fire hazard, a management plan for the landscaping that would actually bring in fire resistant landscaping within 100 feet of the structure. So we feel that we already work with people through consultations to get to that point. So starting at the very beginning with new construction would be a good addition to the code. The second is solar voltaic power systems. This is in the fire code. We already have some local amendments to this. We require some extra pathways along the rooftop or the peak of the roof just for resident safety. For example, getting out of a second story window, there's a pathway that we would require to get out of that window and across the bottom so we could rescue someone out of a window. Also pathways to get to the peak of the roof between the solar panels so we could do ventilation operation, release that smoke and fire out the rooftop for resident safety. So we're going to keep those local modifications, but we are going to reduce the number of pathways required. So we feel like we have a good mix of firefighter and resident safety, but also maximizing that area that could be used for solar panels. The third one is the driveway standards. This is also a local modification that we have some stricter standards. We're actually reducing the number of standards requirements, making it a little bit more in line with the WUI code. And what we're doing is we're going to be allowed a reduced driveway width with the addition of a dry pipe standpipe. So that's basically a pipe that runs up the driveway. In essence, it allows us to bring a fire hydrant to the front of the residence on a long, maybe windy driveway. And that requirement is triggered more often by the distance from a fire hydrant, but we're going to allow, when that happens, the driveway width could be a little bit more narrow. So that's our last of our changes for the fire code.
I like that flexibility. Just one point I wanted to mention, whether we like it or not, we have to review permits to the 2022 building code starting January 1 of 2023. Up until that time, up until December 31st of this year, we will be reviewing construction permits with the 2019 building code, which is in effect today.
Thank you very much. We will look forward to a robust report in the coming months. And with that, I'll ask if there are any quick questions.
I did have a question. Phil, if you could back up on those slides about when, if I understood it correctly, when somebody in a commercial business builds a new commercial building with solar on top, they're going to be required to install an appropriately sized battery backup. Did you also say that applied to residences as well?
Multifamily buildings.
Multifamily, okay. And do you have any idea what that's going to add in cost? I mean, in terms of, is it a significant additional cost?
Battery packs are pretty substantial in cost. This
Yeah.
is one that will have a cost potentially to multifamily housing. Now, when I bring the report to you in January, we'll have a lot more details on this. We're still researching as to when it applies, what exceptions might be available, and any other criteria. Actually, I have the building official online if we have any
No,
other
that's
detailed
fine.
questions, if you want to get into it further. But
No, that's fine. Thank you.
okay,
Just always the state, they impose requirements that cost more money.
they want affordable housing, but they also make it more expensive.
Yes, exactly.
What? All right. I think we are good. Thank you so much for all of the updates. We are now on to community forum. This is the portion of our meeting that is reserved for persons who are wishing to address the council on something that is not on our agenda this evening, but over which we have jurisdiction. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, and we set aside a total of up to 30 minutes for community forum. If you'd like to speak, we ask you, if you're on the webinar, go ahead and raise your hand. If you're here in person, you can come to the podium, and we do ask that you state for your name for the record. So our first speaker here, welcome.
Hey everyone, long time no see. My name is Maggie Payne, and I'm here from the We Are the Care initiative. While it has been a few months since we last gave comment, much has been happening behind the scenes with We Are the Care and among our many partners to continue the fight against the childcare crisis. Tonight, I'd like to share some of our updates, reinvigorate your support, and bestow some hope and inspiration. So since its start in 2019, We Are the Care has grown and adapted based upon the needs of our different communities, whether it was the changing or creation of new task forces or the inclusion of different sectors and partners. We Are the Care has always lived administratively within First 5 of San Luis Obispo County. And we are excited to announce that in the next few months, We Are the Care will actually be transitioning over to the San Luis Obispo County Child Care Planning Council. This change actually offers us a lot of new opportunities and resources for the initiative to continue our work to find solutions and to continue to support the children, families, and all the providers in our community. We can't wait to see what the joining of these forces will bring in these coming months. Also, other updates are that we are going to have an upcoming family-friendly workplace workshop hosted by the Atascadero Chamber of Commerce, actually. The event has been planned following the success of the San Luis Obispo Chamber's workshop that took place over the past summer. and it actually attracted over 30 businesses so that they could come and share and learn. The Atascadero event will offer employers and HR professionals information regarding family-friendly workplace practices, which is part of our toolkit that we've offered over the years. And so this will help different businesses within the Atascadero community to implement change by connecting them with other local business leaders who've actually already adopted these practices. So that workshop will take place on Tuesday, November 15th at the Spring Hill Suites in Atascadero, and reach out to the Atascadero Chamber for registration information. And finally, we wanted to report out that actually We Are the Care recently attended a countywide city managers meeting, which was held on Friday, October 21st. And there we presented and discussed the roles that local governments play in addressing childcare capacity in our communities. Feel free to reach out to We Are the Care or the city manager if you have any questions. Again, we'll be back again soon with more updates about our exciting transition and how you can continue to support the children and families in this Atascadero community. As of now, you can still contact either First Five SLO, or you can contact the Child Care Planning Council for ways to get involved or learn more about We Are the Care. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Nice to see you again. Next speaker.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Sims. I live on Colorado Road. I've lived there since 1983. I am here to comment on the Planning Commission meeting of October 4th, 2022. At that meeting, the Planning Commission voted 4-3 to approve a conditional use permit for 10875 Colorado to have a commercial breeding dog kennel. A very brief history of the situation. The applicant bought this residence in August of 2021 with the intention of building a dog breeding business. In May 2022, building began on their commercial kennel. No building permit or conditional use permit had been applied for. Neighbors filed a code violation. This sat unaddressed until the city was called in early July, asking when a resolve would be forthcoming. In June, the applicants received a hobby breeding permit from Animal Services, which allowed 3 dogs and 1 to 2 litters a year. They already had 5 dogs and wanted more dogs and more litters. On to the Planning Commission meeting. In attendance, either by Zoom or via an email, were 8 neighbors who live in close proximity and in opposition to this permit. No one was there in support of the project. Neighbors directly impacted by the commercial kennel had requested to speak with the commissioners prior to the meeting. Only 2 commissioners did come by and speak to us. 1 only drove by, and the others came and spoke to the applicant only and not to the neighbors. After much discussion and presentation by city staff, the Planning Commission voted to approve the commercial dog kennel and remove restrictions staff had recommended. The applicant is now allowed to have 4 litters a year, and more specifically, 2 litters at one time. A litter was born Thursday with 8 puppies. With an additional litter that equates to 16 puppies at once, plus their 6 adult dogs, for a total of 22 dogs at one time. They also removed the staff recommendation that the dogs and puppies be housed inside from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. The commissioner, who had only driven by, commented, "Why can't we have some wine and cookies and just all get along?" How very unprofessional in a meeting with a highly contested subject. This commercial breeding kennel has been approved in a well-established, quiet residential neighborhood. Colorado Road, which already has 2 noisy Airbnbs, now has a commercial dog breeding kennel as well. Residents of this street have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to improve their homes and properties over the years, only to have this new resident of 1 year drive down our property values. Real estate personnel estimated a 10 to 20% drop in value. Potential home buyers will not want to live anywhere near a commercial dog breeding kennel with 22 dogs at one time. This commercial kennel impacts the character of our lovely, quiet residential neighborhood we have worked so hard to maintain and enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sims. Any other members of the public wishing to speak? If you do, come on up. Let's not dawdle. All right, thank you. I could say that because it was you.
You can. Good evening, council. Once again, Jeff Oslin. Couple things. We have Fall Fest coming up, and we just had First Fridays, and I did notice a couple things about First Fridays, which is a very positive event, and people that were driven to the downtown. Some folks didn't eat at the food trucks. They actually went to our local restaurants in the downtown, which is great because I think that's the goal, is to attract people to the downtown. I also think we need to remember that we have a full city of businesses, and we need to continue promoting all businesses within the city and not just the downtown. With that being said, the stoplight where the Plaza building is across from Sylvester's Burgers. Every time our city puts out the A-frame signs, which are metal, it interferes with the stoplight because of the magnet in the road. So what happens is it immediately goes to red lights because people think you're making a left turn. And it's really an annoyance. So maybe we can consider using plastic ones. And if we need to water weight them or sand weight them so they don't blow, that would be great. But it does affect that stoplight. And then traffic gets backed up. And I actually think it's more dangerous because when you get closer to the Carlton and it's dark up there, you can't see as you cross the street. So we could consider that. And of course, when we closed the roads earlier for other events, and we did it again on Sunday for the bike race, that also stopped traffic and the flow. I realize the city likes to slow down traffic in the downtown, but I think that's a little too slow. Sorry, chief. On another note, the stoplights at Del Rio and El Camino Real are working perfectly now that they're set. We don't have to wait 5 minutes to go through a light. And that's reducing red light runs, which is fantastic for everybody because I don't feel like I'm going to get hit now. So that's a major positive. On the negative note is this. We have a sign ordinance in town. We have been very lenient on not enforcing it, and now we're being strong-armed in enforcing it. So I think some clarification needs to happen. Can A-frames be on private property or not? Can flags be on private property or not? I think the goal originally was to keep them out of the streets and off the sidewalks. But I also believe we have some form of selective enforcement going on. And yes, I'm using the phrase selective enforcement. We had flags that I'll tell you didn't look so good towards Coberell and Morrow Road. And then we started taking flags down, promoting different things for businesses on El Camino Real and other areas that have been up for months. And these ones were up for about 10 days. Lastly on that, we still have a sign at the donut shop. So that's where selective enforcement comes into play. Thank you.
Thank you. And I was looking because I didn't see if the timer had been going, it ran out. And so I was wondering where the things were there. Okay. Anybody else who is wishing to speak? I will look to the webinar too. If there's anyone there, there's a couple of you there. If you want to raise your hand, happy to have you comment. Anyone here wishing to speak at Community Forum? All right, I'm not seeing any. I'll go ahead and close Community Forum and bring that back to council. And we don't typically have discussions. We triage what we can, but we can't discuss items that were brought up during Community Forum. I will say that the sign ordinance, it is not selectively applied. It is when we have code enforcement. We had been without code enforcement for some time, and it's when somebody sees something, it's not. We don't have the capacity to go out and patrol every business once a week and see if everyone's complying with the sign ordinance. And that's not really how we roll here. But it's more of when we're noticing it. And so apparently there's one we haven't noticed that we will get to, but selective is not intentional. So we will take care of those that we need to. In terms of, could we speak specifically to the A-frames on private versus public right-of-way?
Yes, A-frame signs are one of the allowed sign types. All signs require a sign permit. In a lot of cases, these signs don't have permits. All signs have to stay on private property. They can't be on public property unless they receive an encroachment permit, which is a rare thing for a sign. So the signs that you see that are A-frame signs that are on the public sidewalk, for example, are generally unpermitted. But it is acceptable to have a sandwich board sign on your private property so long as it's a permittable sign and meets all the requirements.
And then the same with the flag, if that's on your private property.
And flags are a different story. And I think the flags that are being mentioned here are actually termed feather flags, which are a really tall banner. Those are prohibited signs. Now, a flag, such as an American flag or state flag or any other recognized flag, is exempt and it's completely legal. But I think we're talking about feather flags here, which are one of our prohibited sign types in any case.
Thank you. And I know sometimes I'll hear from the public that, oh, you're focused on A-frames and getting those off the sidewalk. The reason being is that can be an accessibility issue. And so if somebody can't get by, if somebody trips, that creates a problem for the business owner and for the city. So it's not simply, hey, you've got a sign out there that we don't want. That is a liability issue.
I have a
And
quick question on it, if I could. So on,
we can't really discuss it.
well, no, I just
So
wanted, I
is it-
wanted some clarification on what he's talking about here. The inflatable tube guys, which isn't really a flag, but it kind of sort of is. I mean, where does that fall in line with the items that you're discussing here?
It's one of the prohibited signs. An inflatable sign is also on the list of
Okay,
prohibited ones.
all right, thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that. And with regards to a planning commission decision, at the council, unless something is appealed, there's no action that we can take, and there's a period of time to appeal. And so maybe please get in contact with staff and have any conversation that needs to happen, but there's nothing that can, staff, Rochelle or Laura can get with you, or Phil right after the meeting here. Thank you. All right, and with that, we will close our community forum. Let's see, because we are ending here at 6:52, we will remain open until 7:09. But we may not be here. So unless we're going to be wrapping up pretty quickly here. So if you're still here and you want to speak and you realize, do not wait, raise your hand in the webinar out here, flag us down, and we'll make sure we get to you. We have no public hearings and no management reports this evening. So we'll go on to council announcements and committee reports. And I will go from my right to my left. Councilmember Funk.
Let's see, Homeless Services Oversight Council will be meeting next week and regular business. And reviewing various actions that are being taken in support of the county's strategic plan to address homelessness. And Design Review Committee will not be meeting this week. And that's all I have.
I have nothing to report.
Yes, Integrated Waste Management Authority will be meeting tomorrow, and we will be discussing, amongst other things, an organizational study that was something that the cities had requested when adopting the revised joint powers agreement. And so that'll be coming forward, and it looks like it will have some substantive recommendations, perhaps to help us save some money. That would be very helpful.
I have nothing to report.
Regional Transit Authority last week, there was two buses we had on order, a 67% increase, force majeure on the contract. So I called Rochelle and I said, we need to take a look at our dial-a-ride buses and when are those on the CIP? And of course, Don at Administrative Services was already all over it. So shout out to Don. Thank you. Consider replacing, putting in that order sooner rather than later. And then just to let you all know that the fare box recovery relief for dial-a-ride will continue to take place for this fiscal year. And we're advocating for continuance after that. So we'll see where that goes. And with that, I'll ask if there's any individual determinations.
I'll just note that the polls are open until 8 o'clock if you have not already voted.
Yes, you still got over an hour. So get over there, polling places and the library, right as you walk right into the library, the city clerk's up top, but right inside the door, they're there taking ballots as well. So go out and vote if you haven't yet. And with that,